fighting these wars, going over there 3 and 4 and 5 times. They know what it's like. It's one of the, psychologically, it's one of the most overbearing wars that we have ever been in. Even in World War II, the length of time that our soldiers were exposed to potential immediate danger was very short compared to what's going on now, and you add this up. And it is understandable why so many are coming home. Not only do they have head injuries, but they have this post-traumatic stress syndrome, and it's real, and they're suffering for it. We now have an epidemic of suicide. We're losing more of our military personnel from suicide, from the fighting over there. But it's a deeply flawed foreign policy, getting individuals involved in wars that have not been declared, they're not moral, they're not constitutional, and it doesn't make sense. We don't know why we're there. We don't know why it's in. Why does somebody want to go over there and get shot at and get killed and see no end to it? It's very frustrating, and that is the reason if we care about our active duty people, if we care about our national defense, if we care about our veterans, we change our foreign policy, defend this country, and not be the policeman of the world.
Yeah!
With the business cycle, but it is driving us into deep debt. And all great nations who overextend themselves overseas and develop empires, they always come down because they become arrogant and they stretch themselves too thinly around the world. And today, unfortunately, our declaration of war is this declaration of war, the global war on terror. And it has been announced that it's every place, anytime, in any country that we have assumed that we have the moral authority to drop missiles and bombs and drones in any country. And believe me, they don't like it. And the other people resent it. And they would like it much better if we promoted our goodness by setting a good example here at home and having a put together, and we have an efficient army if they have to fight. But our problem isn't a foreign invasion. Our problem is the other half of our oath of office when we swear to defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic. During the Cuban crisis and was in for 5 years. But after the war finally ended in Vietnam, and obviously without victory for us, after losing 60,000 Americans, over 1 million Vietnamese died, and how many wounded we have, and all the money we spent, which ushered in a whole decade of economic crisis in the 70s. But shortly after the war ended, a colonel for us, an American colonel by the name of Harry Summers, met with Colonel Tu, who was Vietnamese. And they got together and they were talking and they were cleaning up the mess, and these are the rules, and we're leaving, this sort of thing. And our colonel said to the Vietnamese colonel and said, you know, you never defeated us once on the battlefield. We always won militarily. And you know, Tu said to him, he says, you are right, but it's irrelevant. Because he did not understand, we didn't understand then, and we don't understand now. We can have a military power and we can bomb and kill and occupy and pretend we're democratizing these countries. But what is much more important is winning the hearts and the minds of the people. And you can't do that. You can't destroy the ability of people to want to take care of their homeland. The whole idea of the Taliban is not to be anti-American. They're anti-occupiers. We worked with the Taliban when the Soviets were occupying Afghanistan, and now we're on the receiving end of it. And the goal is, in both of the major parties, is to obtain power. Is to seek power and control and serve the special interests. It's not so much as a difference between their two philosophies. They have their special interests. The Federal Reserve protects both sides, and yet there is a struggle for power. That is real. That is a real program going on, and that is what they pretend they're different. But today it's different. It's only about power because there's no welfare. This is the reason why there's no budget resolutions even come to the floor anymore, because there's no money left, and they don't know what to do, and they won't admit it. But I'll tell you what, they're struggling over power, and that's what politics has been about for so long. But guess what? Being involved in the campaign for liberty in which we are doing, we are winning the hearts and minds of the American people.
Woo!
There is no doubt in my mind there are revolutionary changes going on, and they're intellectual ideas that are changing. They're not brand new, but they're improved over the ideas that brought our country about. The founders were very understanding of the cause of liberty. They understood that liberty was of one unit, personal liberty and economic liberty. And this was tried and tested. We had the greatest nation, the freest nations, and the most prosperous nation. But it's on trial right now because we are no longer the richest nation. We have now claimed that we are the most indebted nation in the history of the world. We aren't producing. Our real productive jobs have gone overseas. So this will not continue. This is the reason that in the near future, exactly the dates I don't know, but in the next several years, what this generation will have to do, those who are getting out of school now, and I think they must understand this because the greatest support we are getting in the cause of liberty are from the people who are from the age of 18 to 30, and I am excited about that because that really should give us all a lot of encouragement. Just in case there's a couple in the audience over 30, we welcome people over 30. An idea whose time has come. Armies and governments cannot stop those ideas. Even at the time of our original revolution, it was only a small number of people who really carried the day. It was a small, irate, tireless minority that motivated others to join. Most people, the large number of people in the country never will come to a speech like this. But the masses of people will be motivated by others. And it is so important that we continue this because the irate, tireless minority is with us today and it's growing by leaps and bounds, and that should encourage all of us. says that Tyler's minority should be and will, for success, start wildfire, brush fires of freedom in the minds of men. And believe me, there are a lot of brush fires going on. It's going on a daily basis. People are waking up. I see positive signs when you see statistics that show that 75% of the American people now know there's something wrong with the Federal Reserve and we ought to do something about it.
Woo!
And now on some polling it shows that over 70% of the American people agree with us now. It's time to come home. Time to come home from Afghanistan.